Hello everyone, my name is Sushant and welcome back to my next session on the Bicep. So this is my third session about the Bicep. So last session we have seen how to install the binaries. Okay, earlier to that first session we have just introduced about the Bicep and what is a Bicep, why we need a Bicep. So in this tutorial we are going to see about the syntax and structure of the Bicep file. Okay, so this is the basic syntax, how we can just create or provide the declarative way to create the resources. Okay, so we have already seen Bicep is a declarative language. In this section we are going to see the syntax basically. Okay, so we'll see the Bicep file format, then we'll see the target scope, then how we can set the parameters, then we'll see the parameter decorators, then we'll see the variables and resource. Okay, after the resource we'll see the modules and the output, nothing but last one. Okay, so after that one, in next session we'll see the limitations and these comments, white space, conditional format, loops, a lot of things we'll see into the next session. So into this one, if suppose we'll go with the Bicep file format, is nothing but Bicep is a declarative language. First of all, a declarative language, which means so whatever we are going to provide the elements, so the scope, parameter, decorator, the resources, so whatever we are going to provide into the file as a declarative, so that doesn't require to be in order format. Okay, so the order doesn't affect the format of the Bicep. So what is the file format of the file extension for the Bicep? So Bicep is .bicep, file extension required. So file name you can provide whatever you require, and the extension should be a Bicep. So this is my Bicep, and if you see here, so I have provided the main.bicep, so that is my main file, and the file format is a Bicep. So once you will see the file format, so here it will be automatically language will be selected for that template. Okay, so we'll see if suppose you haven't installed the Bicep or install the binaries or not registered into the path, so sometimes you will face this type of issue, but don't worry, if you see the proper way to install the binary, so you will get the ideas. So we'll come to the next element, that is the target scope. So what is the target scope basically? So if you have work on the deployment part or infrastructure as a code into the Azure, so the target scope we define into the during the deployments. So target scope is how we can just set a target scope. So we require to this syntax to target. Okay, so if you type a target scope, okay, and if you after the target scope space is equal to, okay, so you can set a target scope as a resource group, target scope as management group, target scope as a subscription or tenant. So these are the 4 elements we will receive, or the arguments we'll get if suppose we are going to set a target scope. By default, Microsoft means by default it has a target scope to the resource group. So if suppose we are going to install if we are going to deploy any resources in a specific group as a resource group inside the resource group, so we don't require to provide the resource group as a target scope. So by default it will consider as a resource group. So subscription, if suppose we will set a subscription, then it will use a subscription deployment. So we have to provide a subscription details while deploying the resource group. Even for the, we can set a management group. If suppose we have the multiple subscription, we have the enterprise level agreement, and we are going to use the multiple subscription with the resource group structure, then we require we can deploy the resource on the management group level or the tenant level. So to using this one, so we can set a target. So if suppose I want to deploy any resource in specific resource group, so I don't require to be set a resource group. Okay, so this is the default one, it will be take, but make sure you know the target scope where you are going to deploy your resources. So second thing is parameter. So the parameter basically used to use parameter for the values that you need to vary for the deployment. So basically the parameters is nothing but whenever we required a different value. Okay, so we can use the parameter. So we can define the parameter with the default value. Okay, and that is value is provided during the deployment. Okay, if suppose we want to use or nothing but parameter, and the argument will be passed after the to the deployment. So how we can define the parameter? Nothing but when we are just come to the template, we will just set a param keyword and the parameter name. So parameter name can be my storage account name. So whatever parameter you are going to give, and then it will just space, and the IntelliSense is very good for the Visual Studio Code, so it will be automatically detects. So here if you see what type of value you are going to provide, it is a boolean value, it is integer, object, string, secure object. Okay, so I want to just provide the string, so you can just select and hit tab. Okay, if suppose we want to provide a default value, then you can provide the default value. Otherwise if you don't require default value, then you don't need to provide. Okay, so for this one, if suppose I want to provide a default value, so what I can do, I will just provide the default value, stand storage blob, or you can just say blob stand storage, blob stand storage. Stitch. Okay, that means blob standard storage. I'm going to provide the as a string, and this is my parameter name. So while deployment, so I can just change my parameter, and it will be set from the deployment command line. So what is the decorator basically? So parameter decorator, you can add one or more decorator for each parameter. So here, if you see in earlier ARM template, we can provide the values inside the parameter like minimum, maximum number, or like, so these are the decorator basically call or allow values, default values we are going to provide. So these are the decorator basically. So how we can provide the decorators? Nothing but you can just provide with the add symbol. Okay, if you press add symbol, then you can just get all the decorators like allow value, batch size, description if you want to set a description, max length, min length, metadata, min length, min values, and the secure. So nothing but if suppose I want to set allow values, so I can set the allow values like if suppose I want to only set specific resources like let me say standard LRAS replication, or if suppose I want to set ZRS standard required standard STAND standard. Okay, and here standard premium LRS. Okay, so what is this actually? So I have just set an allow value, that is my decorator, and this is my argument. So argument carry the value, and decorator is just a representative for that parameter. So this parameter will accept these values if so. Okay, so I can say it here. So this will be accept this value. Okay, so next is variable basically. So what is a variable? Variable can make an Bicep file more and more dynamic or encapsulated, readably or in dynamic or variable. We can just take the variable. So variable is basically so it can be also vary and depend on your file, or maybe you are constructing or concatenating the several things, names, prefix, like that one. Or if suppose you want to use a secure string or Unix string, so during that time it is required a variable. So variable syntax is nothing but, so it is required a var keyword, and then it is variable name and the variable value. So nothing but it is like var. Okay, the variable name, so my name will be unique string. I can give unique string. So this is my unique string I can provide. So it is nothing but like if suppose I want to provide the unique string name. Okay, so that can be my unique string. Okay, so nothing but if suppose you will understand each while deploying the resources, don't worry. So if suppose I want to use this as a prefix, so I will use the storage account and unique string resource group .id. So it will pick from there and it will take from so here it should be like my syntax should be like in. Okay, so storage account name and my unique value. Okay, so parameter I have provided here prefix and the unique string, so it will be generated from the my unique string from the storage id. So by adding this type of syntax I can create a unique string and assign to my storage account. So like it is unique string, nothing but it will just take a prefix value and then it will just create a unique string from the resource group id. So that is the unique variable. How variable we can just provide the variable inside the parameter. So next is the resource. Okay, a resource is basically used with the keyword resource. Okay, and we can define the resource to deploy into the Azure. So the resource declaration is we have to give the symbolic name for the resource. So what we are going to use, that is a symbolic, nothing but it is depend on our environment. If suppose I can write a resource storage account name, storage account, blast storage, whatever you required, so you can just provide the symbolic name. So it should be identical and you can refer later. So if suppose you just provide the proper way, so it will be easy to readable. Okay, then what type of resource we are going to deploy? So here we have to give the resource type and then we have to select the API version. So this is the when we have just started with the resource, so it will be automatically we can provide this one automatically will pick from the intelligence and then we is equal to in here we have to provide the resource property. So let's get start with the resource block. Okay, this is my resource. Let me create a storage account. Okay, and here it will be automatically populate the resource type. So if suppose I will type the storage, so it will be type the storage account, then I can select the API, and if you see the latest API will be populate through the intelligence, and then we can select. If suppose you want a different one, you can select as one. If suppose you want to default one or the latest one, you can select here latest. By here you can just press equal to and then curly braces, and you can here you can provide the resource property name. So if suppose if you want a name for the storage account, here you can provide the storage account name, nothing but you can just provide the unique string like that one. Okay, if suppose you want to provide a SKU we have given here, let me see. Okay, param. Okay, I don't. Okay, storage account name I have instead of this one I have given. So this is a way I'm just using allowing you to just provide this one, but the syntax wise if you see there are a lot of changes. So let me create another parameter, a storage prefix, okay, equal to string default value my storage. Okay, here I will just remove this one and I will just storage prefix. Okay, so it will just select the storage prefix. Here I can allow, so these are the decorator I can provide. So at the rate, minimum length, maximum length I can provide here. What type of values allowed I can press, I can provide here. Along with that, if suppose I want to give the location is nothing but you can just call the resource group. Okay, resource group dot location. So you don't require to be here you should be like this one. I made a mistake, just a second. Location. Okay, so the location, you can just allow the location. If suppose you have provided, it is fine. Otherwise what you can do, so this is the way you can just construct the resources. Okay, and this is a way to construct the modules. And modules, let's see the module name. Again, module is nothing but you can just call the external file here. So module is nothing but you can call the file symbolic name like a storage. If suppose you have the account and then path for that module, so if suppose we have the module path, so you can directly provide the path. And here you can just provide the name for that module. Okay, so the name is nothing but whatever the name you have, so like web deployment or backend deployment or the anything here you can provide. And the parameters, basically whatever the parameters it is asking, here we have provided the parameters. So inside this one you can provide the parameters, nothing but parameter. You can just provide the key value names here. So like location, you can just provide the location, so it will take the location from the location. Okay, so these are the parameters you require. And nothing but output. So output is one of the elements, so you can just provide output keyword, start with the output, and then you have to provide the output name, output data type, what type of data you require, and then output value. So in this one, so if we'll start with output, you can just provide the public IP address. Okay, out of that one, what type of this one, what type of data type you require. So you can just start with array, it is not public array, but let me start with string. Okay, output data type, what type of data it is, just you can just call the value. So if suppose I don't have the public I do not have the public IP, but let me just like that one, you can just call the public IP. Okay, so if suppose I'm just add the resources here, so let me just try into the resource block so I can show you how. Let me just create the resource for the public IP. Okay, then you can public IP addresses. Okay, is equal to require parameters. I can provide the public IP address name, my PIP. If suppose I want to this public IP name or public IP address, so I can just call that here. So my PIP, what is that, public IP dot name. So the public IP name will be appear here. the output. So this is the basically the structure of the bicep file. So thank you for watching this and have a great day. Bye bye.